Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the pixellab.net. Today I'm going to do a product review for you. So I'm going to go over the City Kit by Greyscale Gorilla, and I'm going to give you my honest feedback on this. So I got this pretty recently on a project, and I have to tell you it saved my bacon for sure. So anytime you're working with cityscapes, there is a lot of detail that goes into it, and you need a lot of randomization in your buildings in order to kind of pull it off and to make it look realistic. So I got this guy as a starting point, and the nice thing about the City Kit is that it's very customizable, but it also has a lot of great presets to kind of start out with. So all of these great renders are presets in the City Kit. So once you go ahead and buy it and download it, you're going to install it in your content browser, and let's go ahead and open up content browser and let's see what it looks like. So this is the default folder for City Kit. So basically you have all of your presets here, your lighting presets and your presets for the cities. And if you want to start from scratch, you can go ahead and use one of these rigs. You have a daytime rig and a nighttime rig. You have your cement floor and then some shapes that you can use for daytime or nighttime. So let's go ahead and just start at the beginning. Let's go ahead and open up a daytime rig. And once you open it up, you got to click on it and hit S to frame it up in your scene. And here it is. So the one thing I do want to point out and make pretty clear is that there are a ton of polygons in this. So when you're navigating around the scene, you can see that it's kind of shutting down a little bit. So the nice thing is that they included a preview checkbox here. So let's go ahead and hit preview, and then it's going to change the display mode and make them simple cubes, and then we can navigate our scene very, very easily. So here are the city controls, and basically we can change the size of this thing, the width, so we can kind of customize the amount of cityscape that you want. You can change the road size, so the space in between the buildings, and then the downtown width, so you can kind of define the areas of the downtown part. And we can also flatten the outskirts so that the farther away we go from the city, they kind of drop down in size. So it's very, very easy to customize, and we got a bunch of variation and stuff in here. The nice thing is that if you see these kind of splines on the outside, there is a way to actually make your own custom buildings, which is really important if you want a cityscape, but you have a specific land feature that you need in there. So if you were going to put a city stadium in here, there is a way to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and let you watch the training that comes with the download. Nick has a whole lineup of tutorials that go into a lot of details, but suffice it to say that you can add custom features into here, and you can even add custom splines that break up a path through the city. So you could put in like a river feature, something like that, a river going through the city. It's very, very customizable, which is fantastic. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is putting a floor underneath here. If we render it now, we're going to be able to see the background in between these gaps in the buildings, and we don't want that. So Nick made it very simple, just to double click on a cement ground, and then it'll put a cement kind of ground in these cracks so that we won't be able to see through it. Which is really good if you got blue background or something like that. So make sure you have a cement ground in there, and then we'll get on to the lighting section. So we have this daylight folder, which we can open up, and there are a bunch of different rigs for lighting. So let's go ahead and try a daylight one. So let's go ahead and hit render, and we're still on our preview mode, so make sure to go back to our city rig and uncheck preview, and it'll give us our full city. Let's go ahead and zoom in, and you can see that we're definitely bogging down a little bit. Sometimes you want to do your camera animation and all that kind of stuff with your preview, because it's definitely a lot of detail going into this thing, and that's kind of one point I wanted to make. Now let's go ahead and make our road size a little bit smaller. I'm not a huge fan of those big gaps in there. All right, so let's go ahead and take our city rig, and now we'll pop it out of preview, and let's go ahead and hit render. So the one thing I do want to make clear is that it definitely is a render hit. All these polygons, you can see that it's starting to calculate all of these shadows, and there's definitely a lot of detail. This is kind of a blessing and a curse. You can get really close into these buildings, and it will hold up very, very well. The downside to that is it does take a long time to render. And you might be deceived because Nick has an extremely fast computer. I have a 4-year-old computer. It's a Mac Pro, and it's a decent computer, but it's definitely not anywhere near as good as Nick's. So I just want to make you aware, if your computer is not up to par with the latest technology, this is the kind of render times that you're going to be dealing with. I think it's definitely something that you can handle if you're doing overnight renders and if you have a little bit of time. If you're planning on cranking renders out really fast, you're going to have some problems. So that is kind of my one main point that I want to make sure you're aware of going into using this city kit. You can already see that we're at about a minute, so I'm assuming this will take about maybe 2 minutes to render. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of that. Yeah, like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. It's great to have all that detail, but it definitely takes a little bit to render. So, and let's see here, where were we? I want to go ahead and show you this shape feature really quick before I jump into the presets. This shape feature is really cool. So let's go ahead and hit S to frame it like before. And what we have here is this custom shape closet. And if we twirl this down, we have all these different shapes. Basically, it's cloning all of these city features onto an object. So right now it's this city sphere. And if we go to our Mograph city rig, you can see that there's an object slot. And right now it says city sphere. If we want to change it, what we need to do is take our sphere and we'll put it inside the custom shape closet. And you can see these are off. So we want to pick one that we like and we'll pull it out of there. So let's go ahead and do maybe city on a hill, pull it out of there. Click on our Mograph city rig and then drag the city hill into here. And then it will update to show the city on top of that object. And you can see that it's kind of pointing in all crazy directions. We can easily change that by unchecking align clone and then they will go straight up. So this is a great way if you want to add some hills or different land features. If you want to have a city on a cube or a sphere, a torus, there's all kinds of shapes in here and you can add your own shapes too. So this is just a really cool way to display your city on some different objects. We're going to close that guy. And let me jump into the presets really quick. So we have a ton of really great presets. These are basically those shapes, but they're already set up. So this one's actually one of my favorite. It's pretty cool. So this is, if you guys have seen Inception, this is basically with the city folding up on top of itself. So you can see that this is actually animatable too, so you can animate the city kind of opening up on itself, which is very, very cool. Let me go ahead and do a render of this so you can see it real quick. So now it's done, and that was actually only 19 seconds. So that preset actually renders really, really fast, and it's very, very cool looking. So let's go ahead and close that one and jump back into our presets. So we have our city kit with the text, which we can easily go into our text spline and change that. So let's go ahead and change that spline. So yeah, that's very easy to customize. It's a pretty cool preset. And then we have our city on the water, which is one of my favorite. Let's go ahead and render this guy. This one's going to take a while because there's so much detail and great lighting on this one. All right, so that's done rendering, and we had 47 seconds on that one. So that is not too bad, actually. And the lighting on this preset is absolutely gorgeous. I just love the look of the lights in the buildings and the shimmering water in the front. Just a really, really nice render. So that is one of the other presets. And then we have a Mograph one, which is, I think they're in kind of a matte white with some kind of ambient occlusion shadowing, which you could change this to be any color, and it's kind of a Mograph-y look, which is definitely something that you could use in one of your Mograph projects. So sometimes it's not even just having the super realistic look, but having the Mograph buildings, definitely very, very sexy. So my final reaction to the city kit is that it's definitely worth the money if you're on a deadline. I mean, you could go ahead and model all this stuff, but even if you modeled it, the espresso rigs and the way that you can kind of customize things and play around with different looks makes this tool invaluable to me, and especially with the deadlines that I have, it's definitely saved my bacon. So like I said, there are some render times that you need to worry about and some problems possibly navigating around the scene if you're on a slower machine, so be aware of that. But besides that, I love this kit and I would definitely recommend it. That was my review of the city kit. I hope that was informative to you, and hope that makes up your mind if you're considering purchasing this guy, and it gives you a bit of information on it. So thanks for checking out my website, guys, and we will talk again next time. Bye, everybody.